Unit 2, Software, af451 revision. Describe the stages of the system's life cycle. The system life cycle describes the various stages that are gone through in analyzing, designing, and implementing a new computer system. The commonly agreed definition of these stages are feasibility study, analysis, design, implementation, testing, installation, and maintenance. Whereas each stage feeds into subsequent stages, looping stages will inevitably occur. For example, evaluation might necessitate changes to the design which are then fed back through development, installation, further testing, and subsequently further evaluation. A system analyst has been in charge of creating an automated production line for a factory. The analyst followed the stages of the life cycle, described the purpose of the 3 stages of the system's life cycle, which the analyst must complete before software can be written. Problem definition. If the problem is not defined accurately, then the problem will not be solved. The client will not be happy despite the analyst solving the problem. Feasibility study. Decision made as to whether the problem can be solved. Parameters like a budget and workforce to be considered. Information collection. Example of information collection method, e.g. a questionnaire or an interview. Analysis of information collected. Formulation of requirement specification. Creates an understanding of the problem and presents solutions. Design solution. Design of solution. Design specification created. Data structures planned. Interface planned. Diagrams used to explain new solution. Explaining the importance of defining a problem accurately. A poorly defined problem will lead to a poor solution. Unhappy customers who don't get what they want, and unhappy developers who probably won't get paid. Problems need to be defined and understood clearly and correctly if there are to be any chance of producing a correct and appropriate solution. Misunderstandings can quickly arise between the client and the developer because whilst the client understands his or her business, the client is unlikely to understand technology as well as the developer, who is in turn unlikely to understand the client's business. A dairy company collects milk from farms and processes it before supplying dairy products to shops. It is taking over another business which will increase its size significantly. The decision is made to employ a systems analyst to produce a new computer system to help run the business. Explain why the problem must be defined accurately before the analyst starts work. The client does not understand the potential of the use of the computer system. The analyst does not understand the dairy industry. The two must pool their information in order to ensure the right problem is solved. The analyst may produce a solution which does not satisfy the client. An analyst has been asked to produce a piece of software for a manager in an organization. Explain the importance of accurately defining the problem to be solved, and state what each of the analyst and the manager are able to do to contribute to the problem definition. The two people involved will have very different ideas of the problem. Necessary that they solve the problem which they agreed on, or manager will be unhappy, software will be useless, and the analyst will not be paid. Analyst is an expert in the use of computers, manager is the expert in the area of problem. Describe the function and purpose of feasibility study. A feasibility study should ideally precede any extensive work on a project, and it is intended to determine whether a problem under consideration is actually worth undertaking. This determination can be assessed under a number of headings. Firstly, it is important to consider whether the problem is technically feasible, i.e., can the problem be solved? Can the software be written or hardware designed to actually solve the problem? Secondly, if the problem can be solved, can it be done in an acceptable frame of time? Thirdly, is it legally feasible? For example, does the solution infringe any patents or perhaps involve any criminal activity? Fourthly, is it socially feasible? For example, are the social consequences of the solution such that An unacceptably large number of people are likely to lose employment because of it. Finally, economically and financially feasible. Can the problem be solved at an acceptable price? An analyst is employed to investigate the introduction of a new computer system to an organization by carrying out a feasibility study. Describe 3 factors which the analyst should consider before about the proposed system. Is it technically feasible? Can hardware, software be found to implement the new solution? Economically feasible. Is the proposed solution within the budget to run? Socially feasible. Is the effect on humans too extreme to be allowed? Is it environmentally sound? Skill level required. Is there enough skill in the workforce? What is the expected effect on the customer? If the customer is not impressed, then there may not be any point making the system in the first place. Legal. Can the problem be solved within the law? And time. Is it timescale acceptable? A firm of solicitors has been using a computer system which keeps records on its clients and other information necessary for running of the business. It has been decided to replace the system with a more up-to-date one. A systems analyst has been appointed to supervise the replacement. The systems analyst will need to carry out a feasibility study. Describe the function and purpose of feasibility study. Technically feasible. Economically feasible. Is the workforce capable of running a new system? Consideration of budget. Socially feasible. Is the proposed system legal? Is the proposed system possible in a given time period? Purpose is to carry out initial inquiries to see if there's any reasons why this system may not be acceptable before starting to produce it. Plan may be revised if study highlights problems. Explain the importance of determining the information requirements of a system and describe the different methods of fact-finding. Determining the information requirements of a problem is essential to providing an acceptable working solution. Fact-finding includes questionnaires, the advantages of which are that questionnaires can target a large number of potential users, are relatively simple to create, and can cover a variety of topics simultaneously. The disadvantages are that many people don't bother to fill them in. They have a restricted set of questions, and these are usually fairly limited in scope. Observation has the advantage in that it is possible to see what actually happens rather than what one is told. But people often behave differently when they are being observed, and it can take a long time. Structured interviews are useful in determining details of the problem. If they are one-on-one, they can be very illuminating, but can take a long time. If they are in the form of group meetings, a lot of data can be gathered quickly, but 1 or 2 members can easily dominate discussions. Documents can be collected and analysed. If well maintained, documentation can be invaluable in determining how the system currently operates, but documentation may be incorrect and not up to date, thus not accurately reflecting the current state of the system. A systems analyst has been employed to update a computer system in a business. State 3 ways to collect information, giving it an advantage and disadvantage of each. Interviews allow departure from prepared script, allows interviewee to elaborate on points, makes client believe that they are fully involved. However, it is time consuming, only gives the view of one person, biased views can be anonymous, cost effective. Questionnaires allows a large number to have their say in a short amount of time. Allows all to feel involved. Very rigid. Does not allow individual points. Person filling it in may feel railroaded, and they can have a poor return. Observation of current system. See system warts and all see system with new eyes. See information workers may not feel important. Workers may not act naturally, may not see abnormal procedures, business may be clinical. collection of documents, gives clear indication of inputs and outputs necessary, shows that workers and management find acceptable. Present documentation may not be effective, may be difficult to understand without more information. Explain why a systems analyst needs to identify the information required of a system, and describe the methods of fact-finding that may be used. The examiners will expect the answer to include the following points. Need to ensure that the analyst understands the organisation requirements of the system produced may not meet. Need to ensure that analyst understands the organisation requirements or the system produced may not meet requirements. Need to ensure correct hardware and software. Interview one-to-one situation can change course of questions, which can also hold one-on-one with client. Questionnaire. Many have their views considered, can be time-saving if there is a large workforce. Observation. Can see process in action, but employers may not act as they would normally. Meeting. Can get views of many people at once, but may be taken over by one or two people. Document collection indicates what data is actually collected. Describe what is involved when analysing the requirements of a system, explaining the nature of the requirement specification and its content. The requirements specification pulls together all information gathered in the analysis stage. It often forms the basis of the contract between the consumer and the developer. It provides a complete specification of the problem, including a usually very long list of all the features that the solution must provide and all conditions under which the solution will work. Requirement specification often includes details on development milestones, which normally trigger payments towards the developer. If at the end of the project there is a disagreement over whether the system actually does what it was supposed to do, the requirement specification is the final arbiter. It is essential that the requirement specification is properly detailed to ensure that nothing is left out or it is ambiguous. It will include details on the current data structures, inputs and outputs, usually in the form of detailed diagrams and printouts. Hardware and software requirements. It will often detail deficiencies of the current system. State 3 items of content in the requirement specification of a system: input requirements, output requirements, processing requirements, client agreement to a client's agreement to requirements, hardware requirements, software requirements. Done. Describe a design specification. The design stage follows directly from analysis. The design specification describes in excruciating detail how exactly how the new system is going to work. It will include detailed mock-ups of all data input and output forms, report structures, diagrams of the overall systems, algorithms, data dictionaries, data life history diagrams, entity relationship diagrams, flowcharts, and anything else that might prove relevant. The design specification should be detailed enough so that any competent programmer could pick it up and create the new system. State 3 items of content in the design specification of the system. State 3 items of content in the design specification of a system: input design, output design, data structure, diagram of overall system, system flowcharts, processing necessary, data flow diagrams, entity relationship diagrams, site maps. Explain the importance of evaluating the system and how to identify the criteria used for evaluation. Any new system has to be evaluated to ensure that it meets all the design and requirement specification objectives, thus confirming that it works as intended. Explain the importance of evaluating a system and the criteria that should be used in the evaluation. Client must evaluate system to ensure that the requirements have been met. Analyst must evaluate system to provide evidence that they should be paid. The criteria should be the agreed set of objectives of the system. This will be done by the rigorous testing of the system, including normal and abnormal data, i.e. functionality testing, and the end user as tester, acceptance testing. Explain the content and importance of different types of documentation at different stages of the system's life cycle. Documentation on the new system will have to be produced throughout the design process. Users will need their own documentation, which will provide a complete blow-by-blow account of how to use the new system, how to handle errors, how to back up the system, how to get further help, and so on. The maintenance programmers will need a technical manual detailing all of the structures, algorithms, flowcharts, data flow diagrams, entity relationship diagrams, and code used in the new system. The completed solution includes user and technical manuals. State the purpose of each manual. User manual gives instructions to software users, allows them to successfully produce the desired results. Explain error messages, what the user has done wrong. Technical manual describes how the system works. The analyst produces user and technical documentations for a new system. State 3 items which will be contained in the user documentation. Input and output procedures. Using processing tools and how to operate the system. Backing up and archiving procedures. File searching, maintenance of files. Error messages, troubleshooting. FAQ. Help available. Required hardware specifications. System setup procedure, glossary, and an index of contents. Describe 2 diagrams which may be used in the technical documentation. DFD, showing the flow of data through the system. System flowchart, showing how parts of the systems interrelate. Flowchart, showing the operations involved, the algorithm. ERD, shows how the tables relate to each other, entity relationship diagram. Explain the importance of system testings and Explain the importance of system testing and installation planning. The new system will need extensive testing to ensure that all aspects of the system are working as planned. Test plans are created during the design process, and these will be followed to ensure that everything is working. System installation can be done in a number of different ways. Direct changeover. The old system is shut down and the new system is turned on, usually only if there is no other choice, since the new systems rarely work the first time. Parallel changeover. The new system is installed alongside the old system. Both systems run together on normal data. When the new system is clearly working, the old system can be turned off. Pilot changeover. If possible, the new system is installed in one location, where it will run, often for many months, before it is rolled out in other locations. Alternatively, the new system is operated alongside the old system but with subset of data. Phased changeover. In some tasks previously performed by the old system are replaced with the new one. As confidence grows in the new system, more and more tasks are undertaken by the new system until eventually the old system can be completely replaced. When software has been completed, its installation will need to be planned. Describe 2 tasks which an analyst needs to plan as part of the installation strategy. Method of implementation. Mention 1 or more. Parallel, pilot, phase, direct. Training program must be devised. Materials written. Files must be created. Need to produce files. Adapt or reformat present ones. Hardware must be bought, installed, or commissioned. System must be tested with real data files by users. Post-monitoring for errors. provide technical documentation. Explain the purpose of maintaining the system and explain the need for system review and reassessment. All systems need maintenance. Corrective. The system may suffer from bugs which need to be fixed. Perfective. The management may wish to improve or enhance system with new or modified features. Adaptive. Regulations may change and the new system may need to be modified in line with new guidelines. All software has a limited lifespan since hardware is constantly improving. Things that were initially impossible may now become possible. Storage requirements may have been considered too large may now be easily achievable. Companies change as they grow and new requirements require new systems. Describe two types of maintenance which may need to be carried out on any finished system. One is corrective. Errors will be found in original software, only come to light in normal use, missed by testing, must be corrected to make software usable. Adaptive. One of the parameters used to set up has changed, e.g. the VAT charge rates. The software must be altered to reflect this new change. Perfective. During use, it is found that one element of the system is not performing as well as it could. Software is altered to improve performance. Describe prototyping to demonstrate how a solution will appear. Prototyping is the creation of a working model of a system to show its essential features. Feedback from the customer will result in a new, improved prototype, which will be subject to further feedback, and eventually over time, as more and more features of the prototype are included, the final solution will emerge. This is RAD, Rapid Application Development Approach. Describe how prototyping can be used by the analyst as part of the design process. Simple version of program to illustrate a feature of the software. Normally used to illustrate input and output screens. The screens are dummies in that they elicit no action. Used to show manager the way of the system will look, allows issues to be spotted. Allow the manager to be part of the design process, to give feedback, evaluate. Used to research new ideas. Used to refine prototype. May include a storyboard showing linking of screens. Describe the spiral and waterfall models of the system's life cycle. The spiral is often indistinguishable from the RAD approach in that prototypes are built, amended, and the process repeated until one eventually spirals into the final solution. The waterfall model is the traditional feasibility analysis, design, etc. approach. An analyst decides to use the spiral model of systems lifecycle. Describe the spiral model. Analyst begins by collecting data followed by each of the other stages leading to evaluation, which will lead to a return to data collection to modify the results. Important point is that the different stages are refined each time the spiral is worked through. The above points shown in diagrammatic form are acceptable. An analyst uses the waterfall model of the system's life cycle. Describe the waterfall model. Idea of passing from one stage to another. The idea of passing from one stage to the next in order. Each stage in the life cycle feeds the information to the next stage. At each stage it may be necessary to return one or more previous stages, either to collect information, data, or to check that it's been collected. After returning, all the intervening steps must be revisited. The examiners will often cover a wide range of specification in a single extended question. The following examples illustrate the type of questions you might expect to find. A dairy company collects milk from farms and processes it before supplying dairy products to shops. It is taking over a business which will increase its size significantly. The decision to employ a systems analyst to produce a new computer system to help run the business. State why it is important to the client and to the analyst to evaluate the finished system. Important to the client because need to be sure that it will perform as required. Identifies areas where solution is lacking. Important to the analysis because it determines the end job the analyst being paid. Identify 3 types of maintenance which will be necessary after the system is running. Give an example of why each is necessary. Corrective: to correct bugs found in software when being used. Adaptive: to alter software because of external need, e.g. VAT paid on dairy product is changed to 10%. Perfective: to improve performance software. Part of the system will involve database containing information about the farms. The stored data will include the name of the farmer, type of the herd, a single letter between A to H to describe the breed of cattle, followed by a 3-digit number to show the size of the herd. The last payment in pounds and pence made to the farmer, the total volume of milk collected from the last 3 collections. The first 2 items of data will be entered into the database by a keyboard operator. Name 2 different validation tests which should be carried out on the data entered and describe how they would be carried out. A character type check, letters of the alphabet for name. Length check, herd type should be a length of 4. Format check, herd type should be 1 followed by 3-digit. Presence check, to ensure a value has been entered. Existence check, farmer's name is already in file. The information about payments is imported to the database from another type of software. State the type of software which would be used to calculate the payments. Accounting package or spreadsheet. The final piece of data is the result of adding binary. It's fine. Some of the farmers whose data is to be stored on the database are worried about allowing the data to be stored. Discuss reasons why the farmer may be worried and the measures which the dairy company can take to alleviate their fears. To get the full quota of marks on extended questions, it is sensible to firstly spend a little time drawing a list of bullet points covering specific areas in the question. Extended questions are questions where you are told that the quality of communication will be assessed, worth 8 marks. For example, in this question you need to discuss both why the farmers may be worried and also what measures can be taken by the dairy company to alleviate these fears. Good answers will use technical terms correctly and appropriately. In this particular example, the examiners will be looking for coverage of the following points. Privacy. Alright, so their concerns are privacy of their personal details, commercially sensitive data about the farm, being hacked into by outsiders, being sold on by company or employees, errors in data being stored leading to compounded errors when data used in calculations. Farmers from new area do not have experience of working with company, and the measures you can take are: allow access to data by farmers in order to check accuracy, limit access to a small number of named personnel, abide by data protection legislation, take measures such as firewalls to stop hacking, use satisfied farmers to get rid of worries among new customers. Identify the features of common applications found in business, commercial and industrial applications. Stock control systems manage product inventory, i.e. how many tins of baked beans do we have in stock. If less than a pre-arranged stocking level, then reorder. All businesses have administrative departments that look after order processing, i.e. managing customers by orders, by selling one's own products and buying another company's products. Managing the payroll, i.e. paying employees. Most businesses need a sales force, a marketing department, and some, such as architects or engineering firms, will use computer-aided design software to design products that are later manufactured, often using computer-aided manufacturers' systems. The entire production process of a factory, including rolling sheet metal, is computerized. The process is controlled from a central control room, which is operated by a single operator. Describe the different forms of output that would be used to present information to the operator. Graphs to show trends, thickness of sheet against time. Interactive presentations, e.g. touchscreen to allow report and action. Increase, decrease of pressure on rollers. Sound and light to present alarm and signals, e.g. sheet too thick despite repeated rolling. Text using flash, reverse colour, different colours, position on screen, methods of giving a second type of information apart from what is actually stated. Videos, images to show operator production line, e.g. see reason for blockage. Hard copy printout for future reference research. Explain why the quality of interface design is important in applications like this. Large amount of information, only one operator. Operator might miss seeing info. Info must be ordered. Danger of information overload needs to be prioritized. Some information is crucial, like line blockage, must be presented in a way that has immediate impact. Use of color must be consistent. Use of sound must be minimal, or it will be ignored. Must consider the operator. Is he blind, colorblind, deaf? Is he capable? Identify and justify the generic applications software for particular application areas. Generic applications are applications which can perform a number of useful functions. For example, a word processor can be used to write documents, create flyers, write books, and generally do many things that people want to do with the printed word. Generic applications are usually bought off the shelf and are not a great deal of money. They are tried and testing, have excellent user support, and are usually very well documented, thus relatively straightforward. The marketing department is responsible for advertising the products produced by a factory. State two types of generic application software that the marketing department would use, and describe what they would be used for. One is called DTP, used for producing brochures, leaflets and flyers. A drawing package, used to produce adverts, leaflets and flyers. Graphics, to create images. Digital editor, to edit sound, video for presentation. Word processor, to produce letters and emails. Presentation software, used for producing multimedia presentation for an audience. Communication software, used for sending mass emails. Web authoring software used for maintaining company website. The sales department stores The sales department stores customer records and is responsible for communications with the customer. State two types of generic application software that the sales department would use and describe what it would be used for. One would be a database to store files of customers and sales. Word processor to write to customers, merge email and send material to specific types of customer. Communication software to send emails to customers, spreadsheets to keep records of sales. A business exists in which, A business exists which specializes in supplying laptop computers to students. The business maintains a large customer base and carries out full servicing on laptops. It carries out full stock and different types available. The managing director can decides to computerize the administration of the business. State three different types of application software which Karen may use necessary for running business. State what they are used for. Stock control to ensure there is always enough stock available for different types. Order processing to ensure that orders are completed and that new stock arrives. Payroll to control the pay and tax of employees. Word processor to send letters to customers. Spreadsheet to produce accounts of the business. Desktop publishing for production of an instruction manual. Presentation software to produce presentations to be used with large groups. Web authoring to produce a company website. Database to store customer records. Identify and justify application areas for which custom written software applications is appropriate. Some areas such as medical or mobile platforms require custom written software. These are products created from scratch by experienced developers specifically to solve a particular problem for the customer, and are often very expensive, poorly documented, with little or no customer support. Well-written custom software can, however, produce solutions that generic software cannot. Part of a factory production line takes blocks of metal as input and passes them between rollers and flattens them into sheets. The process is computer controlled in order to produce sheets of the correct size and thickness. Explain why custom written software is used to control the process rather than generic applications. One point is process is unique, a one-off. Generic software will not exist just to do this. The general control softwares will have many unused features. Bespoke written software specifically for this purpose. Custom written software can be written to allow ease of can be used to allow ease of change to software. Describe the characteristics of knowledge-based systems. Knowledge-based systems have rules, facts, an interface engine and a user interface to use to query the system, often called an expert system. The system uses an interface engine to analyze the facts and rules to produce answers to questions entered via the user interface. Typical examples include diagnostic systems using in car testing or medicine. Many customers carry a store loyalty card which is scanned at the checkout. The data collection is stored in the knowledge base of a knowledge-based system. State three other parts which will make up the knowledge-based system and say why each rule is necessary. Rule base contains all the rules which can be applied to the knowledge data. Inference engine, software which uses the rules in the rules base and searches through the knowledge base. HCI allows for data or queries to be input and results to be output. One part of a factory making sheet metal is the foundry. It is here that metals are melted and then mixed in the right proportions and by the right methods to produce suitable alloys. These alloys can then be used in a factory. A knowledge-based system is used to provide information to ensure that the production of the alloys is successful. Describe how a knowledge-based system is set up. Experts in the field are interviewed. Information is collected from many sources. This information is used to create a knowledge base. The rules are used to interrogate the knowledge base are collected in the rules base. The rules are used to interrogate the knowledge base using a set of algorithms stored in the inference engine. A HCI is set up to provide communication outside the knowledge base system. Describe the purpose of operating systems. Operating systems control the hardware, provide a user interface and services for application programs. They also manage memory uses, provide utility programs and file handling facilities. They provide the software platform on which application programs run. In the following question and in questions that use the words described, the examiners are looking for a description and then an expansion as to how or why the object in the question is useful or important. Describe 4 purposes of an operating system. Used to control the hardware of an operating system, resource management through software like hardware, drivers, system software. Used to provide a platform on which applications can run, deals with issues that the software may have with, e.g. storage of files, provides a user interface with operator to allow communication between user and hardware, handles communication using rules, protocols to govern the communication, handles translation of code, e.g. in compiler and interpreter, has many utility programs used to carry out housekeeping on system, example defragmentation, I think, different types, mention of type for different circumstances, any sensible example. Describe the characteristics of different types of operating system and their uses. Batch systems take a large amount of identically formed data and process it at a suitable time, often late at night or at the weekend where user involvement is not required. A typical example might be processing the payroll of employees in a business. A real-time system is one in which processing is done as fast enough so that any input process sufficiently quickly to affect subsequent input. An example might include a flight booking system. Booking a seat means that it cannot subsequently be booked by anyone else anywhere in the world. A second example might be a computer game where a player's input affects any subsequent output. A single-user operating system will only have a single user to the computer at any one time. A multi-user operating system can potentially handle multiple users simultaneously. A multitasking operating system allows the user to run many tasks seemingly simultaneously. A multi-user multitasking operating system will allow many users to each run potentially many tasks apparently simultaneously. Workers in a factory have a swipe card which contains their identification number. This card is swiped through a reader when they arrive at work in the morning, and again when they leave at night. The workers are paid on Friday each week. Explain why a batch operating system is used to produce the payroll. Inputs are stored because only useful when full week of values collected. Payroll run on Thursday night once a week, all at the same time, no need for human to be present. Run in computer downtime when workers have gone home. No need for instant response to inputs. All processing is similar type of data, large amount of data. State an application of a computer system which requires real-time operating system. Justify reasons for your choice. Airline booking system, because it is important that the system is updated before the next input, so no double booking. Computer game, because it is important to the system is updated before the next input to avoid any game lag. The operating system of a standalone personal computer can usually be described as a single-user, multitasking operating system. Describe what is meant by an operating system. A set of software programs designed to manage the hardware of a system. Describe a single-user operating system. Allows one user at a time to use the system. Allocates each user with rights. Keeps user files separate. Describe a multitasking operating system. Allows more than one task software to run, apparently simultaneously. Use of separate windows for each task. Each is given an amount of processing time before going on to next, e.g. playing music while typing an essay. Describe each of the following types of operating system and give an example where each could be used. Multitasking, multi-user. Multitasking allows for more than one task program to be open at a time. Each apparently runs at the same time. Processor is so fast that it seems as though tasks are done simultaneously. Round-robin system with each task allowed a small amount of time. User can switch between programs. Different programs available in different windows, e.g. single user, student able to listen to music while using a spreadsheet. Multi-user. One computer with many terminals, more than one user at a time, each terminal given a time slice in turn. Each time slice is very small, roughly 1/100th of a second. Uses flags, use of priorities and privileges. Data is separated. Security provision essential. User rights, e.g. supermarket checkout system, online gaming mainframe, serving many terminals. Describe a range of applications requiring batch processing and applications in which rapid response is required. Batch processing is characterized by situations in which a large volume of data needs to be processed in a similar fashion, but where human intervention is not required, and often processing can take place outside of normal working hours. Examples include, but are not limited to, payroll processing, production of bank statements on a utility bill, and utility bill creation. Real-time processing. Systems are systems in which react quickly enough to influence behavior in the real world. E.g., examples include but are not limited to games, flight simulators, air traffic systems, and flight booking. Identify and describe the purpose of different types of user interface. Forms are the form of user interface in which computer outputs separate prompt and response fields for a number of inputs. They often include drop-down boxes, text fields, radio buttons, and checkboxes, and are used to ensure that the appropriate data is collected properly and that nothing is missed. There is usually validation of user input. They are excellent for Structured data input menus lead to further menus that can lead to further menus each time drilling down until the target information is available. They are excellent for naive computer users or in situations where a limited number of options are available. They are quick, easy to use and intuitive. GUIs use windows, icons, menus and pointers to provide a visually appealing interface. They're effective for relatively experienced users and they have extensive functionality and are capable of running unlimited range of applications. Natural language interface are intuitive since speech is humans' most intuitive mode of operation. They are appropriate for almost anyone. They are, however, poor in noise environments, not good with accents, and need training by the user. Command line interfaces require the user to write usually single line commands for the computer to carry out. The user has to know what commands are available and the appropriate for what he or she wishes to do. This interface is very powerful in the hands of experienced user, especially when the commands are combined into short programs, but can be frustrating for those who do not know what commands are available. The office staff at a sales company will use a GUI interface, while the people who take orders over a telephone will use a form-based interface to describe each of these interfaces. GUI, graphical user interfaces, use of icons, use of windows and frames, use of pointers and menus. Form-based, computer output prompts, user responds, data prescribed and ordered. Explain why a forms interface is appropriate for the use. Explain why forms interface is appropriate for use by workers taking orders over the telephone. Prompts questions to ask customers, ensures no necessary information is missed, provides a list of choices to some questions, allows for simplified validation process. For each of the following interface, give an example of an application of its use. The hardware which would be used with the interface in your application and describe why it is suitable for the application. Menu-based interface, e.g. tourist information system, e.g. touchscreen pointer device. Simple to use, limited choices, suitable for environment. Natural language interface, expert systems, keyboard or microphone. Allows user to human syntax. Very complex systems, therefore simplification of query is useful. User may find use of natural syntax easier, so can focus on application. Visitors to a small business use memory-based interface in a reception area. Describe a menu-based interface. Memory-based interface, list of choices on screen. Choice made by user leading to further menus. Can use touchscreen, back home options on each screen. Explain why this interface is offered to visitors rather than a GUI. Limited on choices, valuable for people with little knowledge to help them decide. Restricts users to those areas of the system which the company is happy for them to visit. Use of touchscreen limits damage like vandalism. Easy to use, intuitive. GUI more difficult to use. They may be computer illiterate and it will still be effective. Discuss the importance of good interface design. It is important that computer interfaces are relevant and appropriate to the user. Various factors need to be considered when designing a new interface. For example, are the expected users likely to be experienced or inexperienced? Interfaces for inexperienced users will need to be simpler and more intuitive than for experienced users. What is the purpose of the interface and what And what is the environment in which the interface will be used? If, as in the next question, the interface will be used in a manufacturing setting, the environment is likely to be noisy and is quite likely to be dirty. Information will be conveyed to the operators quickly and unambiguously. They are unlikely to be experienced computer users. A manufacturing company uses computers for both manufacturing process and the tasks carried out in the offices. The computerized manufacturing process is controlled by a single operator. State 3 factors which should have been considered when designing the output interface for the operator. Give a reason for each. Form of output, e.g. sound may be inappropriate, inaccurate on a noisy factory floor. Volume of data, e.g. operator must not be subjected to information overload, as this may lead to omissions. Color used, e.g. must be enough contrast to make it readable. Sensible use of colors like red for danger. Limited use of effects like reverse video. The more they are used, the less the impact. The use of diagrams, easy to relate data to position without need for extra information. Experience of operator, CLI not suitable for experienced operator. Short, long-term memory, operator must not be expected to remember too much for too long. Operator disability, to show that disability is not an issue. Layout, spread around screen, important information in the top left, no overload font size. Hardware choices, suitability for both user and the application environment to be used in. Answering questions of this nature requires you to draw upon your experience of or your ability to imagine the use of computers in a variety of settings. In the next two questions, you are asked to justify the use of a particular style of interface. The interface on an interactive information kiosk used by holidaymakers is a menus interface. Explain why a menus interface was chosen for this application. Simple to use, intuitive, requires no computing skill, leads the user through a number of options, one menu leads to another. Prevents possibilities to user, acts as information on system as well as search engine. Does not allow user to enter other parts of system. Navigation, simple, allows user to return to previous screens easily if mistakes made, reduces number of areas, ideal for touchscreen. The interface used by workers in the Tourist Information Office to book accommodation for holidaymakers is a forms interface. Explain why a forms interface is used for this application. User needs to input information, so requires an interface which allows this. Input boxes force input to be made. Guard against forgetting to give information. The use of radio buttons drop-down list makes validation of information submitted easier. Instructions for input are present to the user. Processing simplified because user is standard. Information is standard. Identifies and Identify and describe the purpose of a range of utilities. Utility programs are designed to perform some commonplace tasks, for example, copying files from one medium to another, sorting or backing up data. Some of the more common ones are as follows. Compression software reduces the size of data files. Compressing files is often essential for sending video and sound over the internet. Hardware drivers add additional functionality to the operation system to allow the system to make use of a particular hardware device, such as a new printer, camera, software, a new printer, camera, scanner, or mobile phone. Antivirus software detects and destroys incoming computer viruses. File handlers allow the users to create, delete, copy, move, open, close, and view files. State what is meant by utility software. Housekeeping programs, system program to perform common tasks, programs to help the running of the computer, programs to help the running of the software hardware, antivirus to protect the system. A student uses a computer to produce coursework for a number of subjects. Explain how the student can use file handling utilities with the computer. Storage files on secondary storage, use of folders, directories, different file extensions, opening files, folders to retrieve data when required, use of shortcuts created on desktop, copying of files from one medium to another, deletion of files from storage when coursework handed in, more recent versions stored, security measures. An author works from home using a computer system. She uses a number of pieces of utility software. State the purpose of each of these types of utility and describe how the author would use them in her work. First is compression software. This will reduce the size of our files. When scripts are not being sent electronically to publisher, the compression means that they are sent more quickly. They are decompressed using decompression algorithms at destination. File handlers manage data to be file handlers, and the next one, manages data storage, allows files to be accessed, allows for deletion or sorting of files. Hardware drivers contain the instructions for the OS when using a peripheral, e.g. would be used when a new printer was bought in order to install communication protocols to OS control of peripheral by OS. To configure hardware, backup utility is another one to automatically make copy of files, to prevent loss of files, protect important work, increment backup made, that kind of stuff. And that is the end of Unit 2 af451 revision.